Now we've said the hypothalamus is the king, and it controls a lot of the functions of the head guard, the anterior pituitary. It does this by making and releasing tropic hormones. Remember, those cause another gland to secrete or stop secreting a hormone? Well, the hypothalamus can release or can send releasing hormones to the anterior pituitary and tell it you need to release this hormone so that it causes this effect in another cell. It can also send an inhibiting hormone to the anterior pituitary saying stop releasing that hormone. The tropic hormones are going to go from the hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary by that hypothalamic hypophyseal portal system. A lot of your anterior pituitary hormones are also tropic. They will cause secretions by the endocrine glands in the body. So the hormones of the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary, and their target tissues are maintained at normal levels by negative feedback loops. And there's many levels of or tiers of control. That helps the endocrine system tightly regulate the conditions in the body and help maintain homeostasis. So each tier includes a stimulus, receptor, control center, and a response. So the first tier, the neuroendocrine cells of the hypothalamus secrete releasing and inhibiting hormones because there's some kind of change in homeostasis. Okay, so when they release it, they're going to release tropic hormones. The second tier, the tropic hormones will affect the anterior pituitary, and that anterior pituitary is either going to send a stimulating hormone or an inhibiting hormone out. Then you get to the third tier where the hormone coming from the anterior pituitary gets to the target tissue. And depending whether it was a stimulating hormone, the target tissue will secrete the hormone, or if it's an inhibiting hormone, the target tissue won't secrete the hormone. But once you get back so that the homeostatic variable goes back to the normal set point, the hypothalamus picks up on this and it stops secreting those tropic hormones. And then that affects the anterior pituitary and that affects the target tissues. Now, the anterior pituitary, the head guard, it has hormones that are tropic hormones because they affect other glands or other tissues in the body. The hormones that are secreted, this is objective 14, thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, okay? The hypothalamus releases thyrotropin releasing hormone. That tells the anterior pituitary to release thyroid stimulating hormone. And that goes to the thyroid gland. Adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH. Hypothalamus releases corticotropin releasing hormone. Anterior pituitary releases adrenocorticotropic hormone, and that goes to the adrenal gland. Prolactin. Prolactin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus will cause the anterior pituitary to release prolactin, which goes to the mammary gland. Also, the hypothalamus can release prolactin inhibiting factor so that the anterior pituitary doesn't release the prolactin. luteinizing hormone. Okay. Gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus causes anterior pituitary to release luteinizing hormone. In a male, it goes to the testes, which make testosterone. In a female, it goes to the ovaries, which make estrogen and progesterone, which will trigger the release of the egg or the oocyte in ovulation. Follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. Gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus directs the anterior pituitary to release follicle stimulating hormone. In a male, that goes to the testes and has to do with concentrating and binding testosterone. In a female, along with luteinizing hormone, they work together, they're synergist, so that the ovaries will make estrogen, and that helps the follicle that's around the oocyte develop. Growth hormone, also called somatotropin. Okay? This is produced by somatotrophs, and it releases growth hormone periodically throughout the day. It causes the release of growth hormone throughout the day. Okay? The amount peaks as we sleep. And the main function of growth hormone is targeting various tissues of the skeletal, the cardiac muscle, adipose, liver, cartilage, and bone. And the effects can be long-term or short-term. Now, short-term effects are usually metabolic. It's going to be either anabolism or catabolism, building or breaking down. It promotes fat breakdown. It helps make new glucose in the liver. It inhibits the uptake of glucose by your muscle fibers. It also can increase your blood glucose and your fatty acid levels so that you've got more fuel for growing and other metabolic processes. Now, long-term effects, the growth hormone acts on the liver and the target tissues, and it causes the production of something called insulin-like growth factor, IGF. And this is a very important thing for us because it affects nearly every cell in our bodies. It causes rapid protein synthesis and cell division, so it helps when children are growing because it helps their longitudinal bone growth and muscle development. It also decreases your blood glucose because it's insulin-like in your blood. It stimulates your cells to take up the glucose. And then growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor also influence us in adults because it promotes muscle development and regulates our body mass. Now, insulin-like growth factor extends the half-life of growth hormone, makes it last longer, because by itself, growth hormone would only last about 6 minutes. So we need the insulin-like growth factor because there's not a whole lot of growing going to go on in 6 minutes. So we need to increase the lifespan of the growth hormone. The growth hormone is regulated by 2 of your hypothalamic hormones. Growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus causes the anterior pituitary to release growth hormone stimulating hormone, which then goes to the thyroid gland and causes the release of growth hormone. And the secretion of the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus goes up when we're exercising or fasting we've just eaten a high protein meal, or we are stressed. And it gets inhibited by somatostatin from the hypothalamus. Now, some of the disorders of growth hormone, you can be gigantism, where you have hypersecretion of growth hormone. If it happens before the epiphyseal plates close, you're usually extremely tall, and your heart and other tissues are larger. If you have acromegaly, it happens after the epiphyseal plates close, and so it's going to affect your head and face and hands and feet, as well as some of your organs, which it can distort and change the shape of. There's also pituitary dwarfism, where you don't have enough growth hormone, so you're going to be shorter, but your limbs are proportional to your trunk. And this is just tables that are located in your book that go over these hormones of the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. Now, a lot of people think that human growth hormone is a fountain of youth. They say it promotes fat loss and muscle growth. And so a lot of bodybuilders take a supplement, or somebody that's trying not to show the effects of aging will take supplements, or somebody trying to lose weight, because it does promote fat breakdown and protein synthesis. However, when you use the supplements, you can have some problems, because it will elevate your blood glucose level, possibly, and cause hyperglycemia. And it can also cause growth of tissues like your tongue and your bones of your hands, face, and feet. They're sold only orally, so it's destroyed in your stomach by the enzymes and the acid, because it's a protein hormone. So the only way to really get any benefits from it would be to have it injected.